Now, obviously, you can't replace a guy. Well, I mean, you could, but it's hard to replace a guy like Jaden Daniels. It's hard to replace a guy like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. I can't win that argument. Nobody can win that argument. You're going to have to replace 3 first-round guys. It's not easy. Not easy whatsoever. I think you'll be okay offensively. I think Garrett's going to be a really good quarterback. I think you got guys in that room like C.J. Daniels, who we're about to talk about in a minute, that could step up. Kyron Lacey, Chris Hilton. What do some of these 5-star guys like Shelton Sampson do? How does that work out? Kylan Billiot is a top 100 guy out of Homa Terrebonne, that we haven't mentioned. One area, though, that Brian Kelly has gotten this team so much better in, is what I think has been the biggest bugaboo for LSU. And yes, that's a white dude word, bugaboo. But the biggest issue for LSU has been, at least in the Brian Kelly era, has been special teams. Now, you can make the argument on defense. Well, you kind of can't, because in 2022, they weren't really that bad defensively. They had their moments, Tennessee, A&M, but against like Alabama, they were pretty good. I even thought against Florida State in week 1, yeah, they couldn't get off the field on 3rd down, but they made a couple of big-time goal line stands to give you a chance to win or tie there at the end. Having a guy like Xavier Thomas that you get from Mississippi State out of the transfer portal, guys, I think is massive. I'm not going to bore you with the advanced and analytical stats, because really they bore me to some extent too. But it's something to be said about an area that you have historically, at least even in 19 really, that you have not been good in. There is a guy that you went and got in the portal that you have seen be one of the top return men, not only in the SEC, but he's been one of the top return men in the country. Now, the chances of him being here for more than 1 year maybe not be is that likely. Maybe he does stick around for 2 years. Maybe he wants to polish himself and to be a better wide receiver, which, by the way, I think he can be a really good wide receiver here. Getting an average return from a punt, 10, 12, 15 yards, guys, it is such a big deal. Gaining a 1st down plus on a punt return literally can change things. There is one advanced analytical stat that I'll just bring up to you. Teams and offenses have a 30% more win rate when you have a punt return that is gained a net yardage of 7 yards. So, guys, even if you get a return of 7 yards, which LSU has almost been, and technically they're 13th in this statistic in the SEC, guys, they're one of the world's worst on special teams from a return aspect. Like, Pro Football Focus has LSU at 13th in punt return yards. You have to be better there. I think another area that they've gotten better in, is at safety. Now, Jordan Gilbert is a guy, again, coming from the SEC with multiple years of experience. We've seen him do good things here in this league. The safeties last year did not play well enough. So if you're going to say one of your 2 biggest areas of concern, special teams to some extent and safety, well, I think you've gotten a lot better there. Guys, you got 20 DBs on this team. I think 1 or 2 of them are about to start hitting, because you cannot continue to recruit from a top 4 perspective. We talked about this last night. We talked a lot of recruiting because Brian Kelly has the #1 recruiting class. It would be the most unprecedented thing that we've seen in college football in the last 20 years. At some point, LSU's going to break through, and one of those guys on defense, the corners, the safeties, are going to break through and have a lot of success. Now, the addition of Jordan Gilbert is bigger than, I'm not going to say some coaching, but his experience gets you there. The last time you went and got a senior safety, well, you had Greg Brooks, God bless him, Joe Fouché. How did that wind up turning out? Oh, that's right. You would play at home against Alabama and beat them and win the West. Just because you're not going into the portal, okay, and doing things like Lane Kiffin, guys, Lane Kiffin has to go in the portal. You know why? Because if you look deeper into a team like Ole Miss, well, if they have some injuries along both lines of scrimmage, guys, they have true freshmen that they have to play. True freshmen. So what happens historically during a year? Oh, the guys up front normally get beat up and miss a game or two. The likelihood that they start a true freshman week 7 or 8, whenever it is, God forgive me that I forget, in January, they come down to Baton Rouge. If they have an injury or two, their depth chart has already dictated, guys, they got a true freshman coming up. He had to go in the portal. He's the portal king. No, the real portal king is Jay Johnson. Let's understand this, okay? Let's understand this. There is a portal king. His name is Daddy. Everybody else around the SEC just calls him Jay. Daddy. That's what teams call Jay from a portal aspect. Daddy. I know my team is going to clip that. I know they're going to clip that. It's not Lane Kiffin. You can't have Paul Skeens. Okay. He went and found a guy that was an Air Force pilot. Paul Skeens was flying jets. Literally. And somehow, some way, Jay's like, that dude gonna come here and throw gas. He gonna throw nukes. Well, you hit nukes, but he gonna throw airtime missiles at 102 for 4 innings at minimum. Okay, I digress. I'm already getting ripped up in the chat. Look at this. Already getting ripped up. Was the Daddy a little too much? Well, listen. I might have said that jokingly. I don't know if it's a joking matter for Arkansas basketball, though. All I'm going to say, that shit is wild. Bruh. All right. Let's get to a quick break. We went a little over. Chris Phillips, SEC Unfiltered, next.